Hello guys, so today we are going to be discussing on how to cut a simple pencil skirt with pleated ruffle. So watch my video guys to see how I take you through the journey. First of all, you have to consider your measurement, which is the waist, the hip and the full length. Now these are the measurements you need for this tutorial. Then you locate your baseline just like I did, and then you place your tape minus 1.5 I mean to say, to the full length where you want the skirt to stop. So then while you're placing your tape minus 1.5 on the waist is because of the waistband you're going to add eventually in the end. Then you now draw your full length line, and then you locate your waist measurement. After locating your waist measurement, just like I did, the next is to locate your hip, so as to take the hip measurement. Don't forget you still place your tape minus 1.5 to your hip, which is 9. Then you now take your hip measurement. Always remember the measurements are whatever you have divide by 4 because of the 4 body parts. Then whatever you get, it is your measurement. As you can see, I'm trying to use the tape to divide the measurements. Now I've gotten my measurements. I'm going to add my seam allowance, 2 inches seam allowance. I'll do the same on the waistline. And then how to get the full length measurement now. Whatever you have on your hip, you minus it 1. That is what you place down there on the full length. Whatever you have on your hip, you minus it 1, you place it down there on the full length. And then you draw your line. So this is the front piece. This is basically the front piece of the skirt. Always remember to curve that hip part in order not to leave anything sharp on the hip part. And then you cut. So the front piece, the front panel of the short skirt is ready. So this is it. Next, we are going to be cutting the back piece. You just take that front piece and place it on another fabric. Still unfold. I forgot to tell you that your fabric is always going to be on fold. Then you locate the seam allowance for the zip. We give it like 2 inches seam allowance for the zip. That is what I just drew the line over there. You locate it, then you cut. Always remember to cut the back piece. When you place the front piece on the back piece, you shift it and give it extra 2 inches for the zip allowance behind. And then you cut. Make sure you cut it neatly. Then right now we are going to be locating where the slit is going to be. That is, after cutting, we'll locate where the slit is going to be. So in this tutorial, I will show you how you're going to cut your slits. There are slits we call overlapping. I'm going to show you overlapping, and I'm going to show you straight slit. But for the purpose of this video, we do not need any slit because it's a very short mini skirt. Now, you make sure that the zip allowance is 2, just like I did. And then after your hip, you come down a little bit of like 5 inches to 6 inches, some 7 inches, depending on who you're making the outfit for. Then you draw your line. Then you now come out by 1 inch. You come out by 1 inch. You trace your 1 inch. You trace your 1 inch with your chalk. And then you now use your chalk to trace from that 1 inch. You now slant it to the waist of the skirt for it to match. Why you're doing this is because the hip is bigger than the lap area. After the hip, like below your hip, the lap area is always smaller. So you have to slant it in. That is why you go in by 1 inch, or you come out by 1 inch, depending. Now, this is the overlapping slit I was talking about. This is the overlapping. So if you're going to sew your skirt, you want to do overlapping, this is how you do it. But for the purpose of this video, we don't need it. So right now, I'm going to be cutting that overlapping off. I'll cut it off. So I'm cutting it off right now, like so. We're cutting it off. So that is it. Because we do not need a slit on this skirt at all. So that is it. So now I'm placing the fabric on the lining, because we need a lining for it. To place it on the lining to cut it out. You cut exactly the skirt. The skirt size, you cut it out with the skirt size. So right now, we are going to be reducing the lining because we are turning the skirt over with the lining. We are not joining it, we'll turn it over. So we are going to reduce the lining with 1.5 inches. So mark your chalk 1.5 inches on the down part of the skirt, not the waist. You mark your chalk 1.5 and then you reduce the lining by 1.5 because you are going to turn it over with the Ankara fabric. You cut it out like so. Always be careful not to cut out your fabric. So you have to be very, very careful in order not to cut off your fabric. So you do the same thing on the back piece. That's the back panel. Now we're going to cut out the waistband. The waistband is 2 inches on fold, and then you measure your waist. Whatever you have on your waist, you add like 5 inches to 7 inches, depending. Nevertheless, even if it's 7 inches, you're still going to have excess, so you're still going to cut off. So whatever you have on your waist, whatever your measurement, your full waist measurement is, you add 5 inches to 7 inches, depending. So now I'm trying to make sure that the waistband is 2 inches exactly on fold. So I'm trying to trace it. Still trying to trace it to make sure it's 2 inches. Then that's the length of the waistband. It's actually excess, so I'm cutting off the excess. After the full waist measurement, then I added the 5 inches, then I cut it off, the excess. I cut off the excess. So this is the pleated ruffle. I'm going to use 3 yards length. The length is going to be 3 yards I'm using. That is 36 by 36 by 36 6 times. 36 by 36 3 times. So I'm using 3 yards. But it's going to be on fold. It's actually going to be on fold. So when you open it, it's going to be 14 long. Just like I did, it's going to be 14 long. I'm trying to make sure it's up to 3 yards. Although, while sewing, there will still be excess, but it won't be too much. But in order not for you to run out of fabric, just make sure that at least it is excess instead of it not to be enough. So when you open the fabric, it's going to be 14 inches. But while on fold, it's going to be 7 inches. So I'm going to run a thread and cover the opening. And then afterwards, I'll turn it over. And then I'm going to run a thread right in the middle to create the ruffle. So after that, I made my skirt. As you can see, I look so beautiful. The skirt is so fitted. It's so beautiful. In my next video, I'm going to show you guys how I made this wrap top. It's so beautiful. All right, thank you guys for watching. Bye.